Hello everyone. I'm Wagner Lopez. I'm the country manager of South Summit in Brazil. So very glad to be here with you and with you guys. So when we think about AI, we used to think about software, right? But there is another challenge which is far more complex, which is how can we connect digital intelligence with the physical world. And perhaps there is no better example of that than a logistic last mile. And for me, what makes interesting this conversation is that we are here with some special guests who are building and transforming logistics systems, not in London, not in New York, but in Africa, in Latin America, in different countries that has huge challenge in terms of logistics and infrastructure. And today we are going to explore what is the challenge to scale logistics in these environments where AI, data, operational excellence, local knowledge come together to solve some of the most complex issues and challenges in the physical economy. So I would like to thank you, our guests, and I will let you to introduce yourself quickly, and then we start our conversation.
Okay.
Antonio, please.
Thanks, Wagner. Thanks for being here, for sharing this space. I am Antonio Migliore, founder and CEO of Muva. Muva is a combination of different logistics platforms, all of them technology, non-asset based, and also we run a last mile delivery service upon our platforms. We have launched in Argentina 7 years ago, and now we spread it to US and also here. We acquired a company here, so we are also in Spain and Portugal. Different logistic needs makes us deliver different technologies. So that's basically what we are.
Hi, I'm Gregory Costamagna. I'm the co-founder, co-CEO of Gozem. We are the leading super app in Francophone Sub-Saharan Africa, and we focus on three sectors of mobility for passengers and last mile, commerce, and fintech. And we're present in 5 countries: Togo, Benin, Gabon, Cameroon, and Congo. Thanks for having me.
And good afternoon, everybody. My name is Daniel Cuervo. I am CEO and founder at Carrot. Carrot, we want to place ourselves as the Uber of cargo for the consumer brands in Latin America. We're not only delivering over 2 million packages per month sustainably, efficiently, using AI, but we're also providing inventory finance for those over 12 million small merchants that today make 70% of the sales of any brand like Coca-Cola, Mondelez, Philip Morris, AB InBev in Latin America. So it's a combination of logistics with financial inclusion. We operate in Colombia, Mexico, and Chile, and basically very, very happy to be here.
Thank you, Daniel. So I would like to start with the problem, okay? The problem you are solving and understand how the industry has evolved and what actually are the fundamental problems each company is solving. So first question to you all, what is one thing about last mile logistics that looked true 5 years ago, okay, but is no longer true today?
I start?
Yeah, please.
Sorry. For instance, like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, we were living the post-pandemic era. In those days, none of us know what was about to happen. Most of the things supposedly will be remote, so everything will be turning to online delivery, whatever. The incumbents, the big companies, didn't have the technology. So in those days, the buzzword was technology. But that was actually a soft part of what we are doing today, you know? That changed. Today, all of those incumbents already adapted technology or are adapting technology. You know, there is a McKinsey report that says that 60 to 80% of the companies are investing into digitization. So that changed a lot. Today, you have to have a different layer, including AI, to support a different kind of business that today is delivering, you know? Mm-hmm. That changed a lot. So it was super new that day. Today, you cannot say that you have a routine algorithm or something like that because it's almost a commodity.
Okay. Yeah, nice. Gregory?
So for my case, I operate in markets that do not have any sort of last mile delivery. And 5 years ago, basically people will find drivers that operate in the street, save a number, really informal way of delivering your packages. So I guess we are one of the only company addressing this problem digitally. And so we're at the really beginning of that phase. And so a lot of the challenges for us is education. How do we find the right addresses, and how do we use technology to help the customer, the drivers, the merchants, to basically be able to do that logistics seamlessly. And the goal is to increase expectations from the customer point of view, from the merchants, from the drivers, so that with increased expectation, we can further develop this last mile delivery business in our markets.
Right. Daniel?
And I believe that on my case, what has happened is the way consumer brands are trying to reach their very small clients. That's completely changing. A few years ago, what happened was that there were big distribution companies that were doing the job. So Coca-Cola, they had somebody who they sold in bulk, and then they went out and sell and deliver into those 12 million mom and pop stores that are around emerging economies. When there's now apps and there's artificial intelligence and everything, so right now what's happening is that that small mom and pop store is buying directly from the big consumer brand. Okay, so that intermediary was eliminated. Now there's a new opportunity in which big brands are marketing brands. Have you ever gone to a Coca-Cola office? It's not a warehouse. It's a very fancy corporate building in the middle of the financial district in any country. So now they need somebody that takes care of the logistics. And that's where we come in. We came in focusing on basically how do we efficiently deliver those packages to those over 12 million small mom and pop stores. But then we saw that the opportunity was not only logistics, but was always also a finance solution. Because basically, out of those 12 million people, 85% are informal. No bank, no history credit, and so their purchases were limited. 85%.
Wow.
So now what we do is we deliver, but we also finance the inventory so that small mom and pop store can buy more. That represents more sales to my client. That represents more deliveries to me. So we're basically creating like a flywheel effect in which everything is basically rotating as we create more business for that specific channel of the consumer brands.
Okay. No, very interesting. And Gregory specifically, Gozen started in markets where in many cases logistics simply didn't exist. And in this context, how does that change the way you build a logistic business?
Yeah, so as I was saying, I think you have to start from scratch with educating the ecosystem. As I said, the consumer, the drivers, the merchants, on how to interact, how to increase their expectation, what can be possible. But it's not only that. We also finance the ecosystem because you don't have vehicles that are able to do those logistics. So we finance those vehicles for the drivers so they are able to provide the service that the customer now is expecting. And so, again, it's early days, and we're really trying to evangelize how things are done in Western world or even in LATAM, etc. Things are much more developed. We have to educate our ecosystem much more, and that's how we use technology as well to help us educate faster.
Okay, and when we look to Africa, there is a more advanced logistic infrastructure in terms of countries.
No, there are probably markets that have a much better infrastructure, but I'm in the frontier market of Africa, so
Yeah.
I'm really starting from scratch.
Yeah. Okay. So now I would like to explore about how, in fact, AI is really changing the game and adding value to this kind of problems and through our company. So everyone today is talking about AI, but actually, where is AI creating real value in your operations beyond the hype? So, Gregory, if you can start. Please.
Yeah, I think
How do you use
AI is going to help us, and we're starting to work on it. So we're at the beginning of that journey, but it's going to help us identify how to better educate our consumer in the ecosystem. So I'll give you an example. In our markets, there's just simply no addresses. So I don't know if you share that in LATAM, but in our markets, to find people, you literally have to say, you turn after the pharmacy, and then it's the red house. And so I believe AI will help us make the driver meet the customer better. We will understand which driver, which customer have that meeting ability, and so we will improve that connection. Similar to merchant, we will be able to identify which merchants are not doing their part to get the packages ready for the delivery. So just to give you context, I do A to B delivery. I don't consolidate or anything, so a merchant needs a delivery, I pick it up and I deliver it. But that merchant sometimes is not ready, my driver is waiting, and it loses revenue because of that. And so what we're going to use and what we're building right now is we're building solution that helps us identify all of the inefficiencies in the process, so that at the end of the day, we can reduce delivery time, we can increase driver earning, which is our main goal, and improve overall how it works in our markets.
Perfect. And how long have you been using AI in your products and service?
I think our first step right now, how we've been using it, is mostly on the processing side. So we used to use a lot of human interaction to actually make sure that an order from a customer was genuine, that the customer was ready to receive it, etc. And we're integrating AI to basically reduce the need of human interaction in that ordering process, trying to make sure that the customer is ready, and then we can start the delivery process, essentially.
Nice, nice. You know, just a curiosity, in Brazil, there is a super app, which is like food, like it's the main, and they have like 80% of the market, and they are using agents team in the seller process to restaurants. So, for example, in the long tail perspective, 80% of the sell to the restaurant is made by agents. So really something which is really adding value to the business. And Daniel, you about AI, how are you using and in a value perspective?
I believe that LATAM will not create the next Anthropic. That's something that's not going to happen. But what we are seeing is we are implementing agents to improve the processes. In our case, logistics, we have routing engine with AI. We have how we hire those or how we search and hire those independent drivers that are the ones that are basically delivering. It's the entire process done through AI. In fintech, the entire scoring model plus the way that we are doing the collections is done entirely through AI. And what we've seen is that by using it, we are being able to scale without having to increase dramatically the headcount. Mm-hmm. Part of the things is, okay, now labor is cheap, so the cost, but once again, I think that you don't have to train, you know? When you do not depend in people to be able to automate the process and then be able to fulfill the KPIs of that process, I think that's the best thing that we can have. We already depend a lot on the driver, so we don't want to depend that much on also employees. So that's the way that we're using AI basically in the business.
Perfect, perfect. And Tony, you're probably the most technical company here. You're a software company. And what about you?
Maybe. You never know. Yes, first of all, as we were saying that 5 years ago, like the buzzword was optimization logistics, no? Mm-hmm. Or routing techniques. Today is AI. If you think how much time do you hear AI as a word, and most of the time it has no sense at all. It's like the new buzzword for sure. So in the years to come, we will start separating what's real rather than what's not. In our case, you have different AIs in the family. You have narrow AI for many years now.
Mm-hmm.
At this time, the founder or CEO of Waymo, the automotive mobility, is speaking, and that, when you think that this is not the frontier, it was the frontier like many years ago. So we have an AI, narrow AI, many things. Then you have now the generative AI for sure that allows us to build agents, general AI. So among all that noise, we have many developments within AI apart from the agentics. For instance, OCR is optical character recognition, reconocimiento facial óptico. Perdón, lo dije mal, dije mejor en inglés. Sí, reconocimiento de caracteres ópticos. Eso quiere decir, that exists from the 60s, and it was re-evolved in the 80s, so that's not new. At the same time, there was a technology that allowed some kind of feature to read an invoice and say, this is the invoice number 1 to 3. Today, what an OCR can do is to interpret a whole frame, whole form, and for instance, we have, I told you have different applications for different logistic needs. One is for field logistics. The biggest wine producer in the world, which is American, uses our technology.
Mm-hmm.
It has 40% of the American market. And we have developed an OCR by AI that reads 60 different forms. Picture of the trucks moving around Old California, picking the paper with them, and many things are done by written or in different kind of forms. So our AI can extract everything and turns that into data in the system. What they used to do like 2 years ago, all the papers were collected, go to a place, hopefully you don't lose any one of those, then it has to be typed, because the old AI couldn't do that. So in the days to come, in the months to come, apart from the agentic, you have all that particularities developing. I could talk about that, but we have a short time. I really like all the applications that you can do with applicated, let me use that word, AI.
And do you see difference when you look to these AI applications in terms of local applications in Latin from Europe, or have you been able to scale from Latin to Europe the same AI-based solutions?
I have to say that in my experience, it equals that to money, that it has the same sense everywhere. Talent is everywhere. So in Latam, in France, in Africa, depends on the people that are actually thinking of the problem. And for a reason, this super huge company, which is an hour driving from San Francisco, is using our technology to do that. So you don't need to be in some places to create. Yes, it's better for your company to be bigger, but not to create these kind of solutions.
Right, right. And talking about scaling, a large global players often struggle in these markets like Africa, like Latam. And why have regional scale-ups be able to succeed when these large companies sometimes cannot or having trouble? I don't know if you can comment.
Yeah, I think when you're, so I'm competing with Uber, essentially. They are not in my market, but I guess that's my closest competitor, Uber in the Western world and Grab in the Eastern world. I believe that what we decided to do is go into really frontier markets, because those guys were not there, so we had value to bring to the end consumers. And I think the rationale of why they are not there is still there today, which is when you're a listed company and you need to expand to new markets, you need to look at what's going to be the impact of this new market on your P&L, on your stock price. And so I think that the markets that the big companies can be in, they're already in. And indeed, the markets that are maybe smaller and more complicated doesn't move the needle for them. And that's why regional company can really strive and create dedicated company, which then becomes really hard to dislodge.
Yeah, yeah. Dana?
So my reasoning behind the expansion, I believe, is the true value of a logistic company for an exit, and any company that has any VCs as in their cap table is going to say that you're always having to think on an exit strategy. So the biggest value that our company as a logistic company can have is having a big logistic network.
Right.
That is my reasoning behind this. Now, to have that, basically what we've thought is we went into Colombia, we opened Mexico, then we acquired a company, one of our biggest competitors in Brazil. We had to close that company in Brazil because unit economics were never there. So that was a huge challenge last year. And then we acquired another company in Chile, and we got Chile.
Okay.
Next step is Africa. We're going to see Africa because the dynamics in commerce, as we see them in Latam emerging markets, are the same there. And I believe that there's huge possibilities on what we have in countries like Nigeria and Kenya. So the reasoning behind us expanding is a little bit that. What are the biggest challenges is you have to build everything from scratch. I remember once having a conversation with the guy that did the expansion of Rappi, and they opened like 14 countries in 2 years. And I was like, how are you doing it? And basically his answer was, I create a new company in every country. I just use technology and there's a complete new company. So initially we went through that same way to work, and it was terrible. So we had to basically rethink, because we had to, once you expand, the process need to be in place, the people need to be in place. So right now we have a more centralized type of operation where the C-level executives are in Colombia, okay, and we're basically traveling once a month to every one of the countries and just having the second tier of people in those countries. Having that it impacts your family, it impacts your health, it impacts your sleep, but I think that's the only way in which, in our case, it has worked.
Okay, perfect.
If you let me add just one thing on expansion.
Yeah.
I have to say that none of our companies have real solid capex. We don't build or purchase vehicles or warehouses. In that sense, you can expand much quicker than the incumbents. So easy is not the right word, but you get that.
Yeah, you are the platform.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So we have 4 minutes to finish the panel and go into the last question. Fast forward 5-6 years, what will you look completely different in logistics? So we have talked about the past. Let's project 5 years, 10 years. How do you see this journey of AI, agents, and business model evolving in your business?
Okay. First of all, I like to say that we actually don't have a clue because nobody knows what will happen. Having said that, you have to work within that border. What I think is that the future is not about automotive vehicles. That's a part of the thing, super tiny specialist part, as it was the drones. Drones were super hyped some years ago. It only functions for some things because the economics are not there, as Daniel says in his case. So I guess the future will be much more into, today logistics is much more fragmented. Mm-hmm. So AI can help to build a network below that and to be much more automated and working, for sure, but the AI will take decisions on their own, as you say, in the sellers, in the iFood. They cannot do everything, as the drones or automotive vehicles, they can do everything, but they could help a lot in going faster into that network integration.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I think I agree. I don't think AI is going to disrupt logistics in anytime soon. I think we're in a very operational heavy business. And I believe what will happen in the next 5-10 years is that AI is going to accelerate the quality of the service that the logistic business can deliver. I think to echo what Antonio said at the opening of this afternoon, he lives in Madrid, in the south of Spain, I think I heard, and he had terrible delivery experience. I just got delivery packages in Marseille, in the south of France, and it's a terrible experience. And I believe that AI solution can really improve that, where companies have to, when they do logistics, they have to focus on a lot of things, warehouses, delivery drivers, the customers, etc. You don't have all the time in the world to improve every single element of the process. AI can help you leap towards that and create an incredible journey for the customers wherever they are. And I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to just improve the quality of our delivery overall, globally.
Nice, very nice. Daniel?
And on my side, I think that when you look at the entire process, you might be able to eliminate most of the friction created by people, except for the driver. I don't think anytime soon the unit economics for Latin America are going to be able to allow the implementation of autonomous cars, or no, that's not going to happen. Or drones. Still, the price per package is very low to be able to have that happen. So what is it, as we think, is how do we, now that we know that we're going to have the drivers, how do we use the time of the driver in the best way that we can do to create an entire value for everybody? So now is, how do we use it to deliver the package? How do we use it to put the credits? How do we use it to understand what's happening, the analysis of the little mom and pop store, or what's happening through technologies like OCR? And when you do that, basically what you're creating is you're being able to create much more value, but create much more profit and revenue and profitability from that time. And if you're able to do that and correctly manage the distribution between how much the driver gets of that part and how much the company gets of that part, of the new value that's created, I think that that's the way that AI can basically improve a lot of the things that are happening right now. That's my feeling.
No, a huge challenge and a huge opportunity, right? So, Antonio, Gregory, Daniel, thank you very much. Thank you all. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much.